Hi, and welcome to this week, our start of Halloween month, Pirate News. My name is James O'Keefe. I'm captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party, and I'm joined today by First Officer Steve. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well, Jamie. Thank you.
Excellent. So, folks who checked out our blog last week might have noticed that we're bringing attention to the city of Boston is considering accepting up to $3.4 million in federal government funding for the Boston Regional Information Center, also called the BRIC. And that's one of two fusion centers in Massachusetts. And they do a lot of things like, spy on nonviolent peace activists or Extinction Rebellion activists engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience, as well as, monitoring social media and events and stuff like that. But strangely, never doing a whole heck of a lot about the white supremacists that we have out there. So,
Funny that.
yeah, funny that. So the last week, the Public Safety Committee met, and now this Wednesday at noon, there will be a Boston City Council meeting where the City Council president would like to have these items acted upon and voted successfully. And we, of course, don't want them voted successfully for various reasons that for the ones we've already mentioned, the surveillance, but also they still have the gang database, which has serious issues with quality, shall we say. And if you live in the city of Boston, especially, but also if you live in the greater Boston area or even just Massachusetts, please reach out go to boston.gov, find your city councilor, and tell them you oppose this funding. We will soon post more details at masspirates.org of how you can contact folks. So do look there if you want to do a first stop, but by all means, contact them and tell them that you oppose this funding. It looks like the vote's going to be very close, but we can prevail. So please do reach out and tell your city councilor or the city councilors in general that you oppose this funding. Give them a call. That's probably the best way of doing it at this point. So with that behind us, we have a conference coming up on October 14th. That will be at the West Somerville Public Library, West Branch, starting about 10:30 on the 14th and going till about 12:30. That's a.m. to 12:30 p.m. That will be both in person and online. So if you can come out to that or otherwise attend, please do. And then additionally, I want to thank again Mickey and John for organizing the respective surveillance camera and fun outing that we had about 2 weeks ago. So we hope to have more of those when the weather is warmer. But, it's going to be pretty warm today and tomorrow, and 83, I think, which is
something like 83. It looks like a warm week in general for folks in the greater Boston area.
Yeah, great. So with that, the other topic that we had, Steve, would you give us an update on that?
Oh, sure. So during one of our previous episodes, I talked about a little story involving BMW, where they had basically turned some of the features that you were basically locked up some of the features that were in the automobiles they were selling. The one specifically we talked about was heated seats and heated steering wheels. Cars got them. There's a switch on there to turn them on, but if you didn't pay BMW a monthly fee, you didn't have access to them. So in the process of looking at that, I found something from the Mozilla Foundation, the Mozilla Foundation being the good folks who bring us the Firefox web browser and all kind of other stuff. But Mozilla has some privacy research efforts, and one of the recent ones has involved looking at the sort of privacy quality of automobile manufacturers. And, basically, of the 25 they looked at, the scale goes from bad to worse to even really worse. Automobile manufacturers, yeah. Well, so a couple of, when you consider, when they started putting computers in cars, one of the things that we were concerned about is, practices for security. How can people, how difficult is it to control someone else's vehicle remotely? And, there were a bunch of stories and cases about that, and, things got better. But, the car being being essentially a collection of computers on wheels, for lack of a better characterization, is also a bunch of sensors and data collection stuff on wheels. So of the 25 manufacturers that the Mozilla Foundation looked at, 84% of them will sell or share your data, and 56 will share data in response to a law enforcement request. So this isn't a subpoena or a warrant. This is just, hey, can you give us the data on, this vehicle? Now, 2 of the 25 manufacturers do give people the right to delete personal data that the car had collected. However, these 2 brands are European brands, so they're subject to GDPR. And, it's not they're taking a stand. It's that they're European and they have to do this. Things that we, don't know about the manufacturers, the privacy policies they use very inclusive language to talk about what they collect and who they share it with. So using phrases like including, for example, and etc. We don't know to what extent they employ encryption for data at rest or data that's being transmitted. And they are basically starting to work with data brokers to repackage and sell this information. So they're getting into that kind of business. According to Mozilla, the worst offender in the for privacy and security, Jamie, you want to guess?
Tesla.
You are right. It is Tesla. Tesla came in. If Mozilla, PolitiFact had a rating called "Pants on Fire." This is for something that were really bad. Well, Tesla is the sort of the privacy and security equivalent of Pants on Fire, at least according to Mozilla's research. Nissan was the second to last. Their privacy policy gives them the ability to collect information on your sexual activity. Yeah. Yep, but I mean, you think about what a vehicle can do. We've joked about smartphones being surveillance devices that you can make phone calls with. Automobiles, yeah, they have GPS. They can take pictures of your surroundings. They often have cameras inside, so they could look at you. They could look at your eyes to see whether you are tired or drowsy. Apparently, a number of them collect information about heartbeat and stress level. And then there's just all the typical stuff of what if you roll down your window. Well, that's a data point. That's something that's mediated by that goes through the computer system. If you turn on the defrosters, if you are wearing or not wearing your seatbelt, route information, driving speed, driving habits, with this, you can get you can certainly get a good idea of what the person does for work, what they like to do, what they listen to, and how they interact with their car's entertainment system. So this is the stuff that, car manufacturers are packaging and selling.
So the stress level, I don't know, that feels like it's getting into phrenology territory.
Well, I mean, one of the things that, they're apparently, at least by the, I don't know specifically how, and the article did not say how this sort of thing is measured, but I mean, facial expressions, if you got a camera in the car, you can kind of, I believe artificial intelligence software is gotten to the point where, at least for white people, it could probably tell if you're happy or if you're, if you're not. It's gonna be.
It beeped the horn. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's sort of funny. I do my commuting by bicycle, so I'm just la-di-da, rolling along, happy as a clam. And in places where there's a lot of traffic congestion, drivers are kind of the opposite. Just in my experience, it's to me, this is one of the downsides of getting around by car. My personal preference, but I could see, it'd be interesting to see how the information like this turns up in cases of, say, road rage, or property damage, or really, my guess would be that the one sort of data consumer that would be terribly interested in this are insurance companies. If in terms of if person X is a really terrible driver and a really risky driver, well then yeah, they would want to charge that person more. Now, one of the other things that's just sort of tangential is, about 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, we started having requirements for vehicle manufacturers to install event data recorders. So basically the, crash recorders, kind of like you'd have in a plane or a train. But the thing is, the information collected there's actually laws that say the stuff in your vehicle's event data recorder is yours, right? You own it, and no one can get to it without your permission or without a warrant. So that sort of protection does not apply to stuff that just gets streamed over the air to somebody's data center, and it's not stored in an event data recorder, and not retrievable by those means, and it's not offered the same level of protection. So yeah, cars bad.
So one of the things I found telling in looking at the auto API data categories that you had sent and that I put in the chat is how much of this data is available to dealerships, but even though they're selling it, they don't want to follow the Massachusetts automobile right to repair law, and give that data over to the the service station of your choice.
Right.
It's like they've got the data, they're willing to sell the data, they just don't want to part with the data unless money's exchanged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so for our listeners out there, the data broker that Jamie is referred to is called highmobility.com. It's high-mobility.com. You can go to their website and they have a list of categories of vehicle information that they make available through their APIs. A number of the manufacturers reviewed by the Mozilla Foundation have partnerships. So there's They're all one big happy family, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just I'm thinking you don't want to take your Nissan up to Lover's Lane, right?
No,
Right.
you
Because if you
don't.
do, it's like it's got Wi-Fi. It can connect to your phone. It can connect to the phone of anyone who's in there. You can get the GPS coordinates from any phone if you pay a data broker. And then they've got a recording that their employees are going to share around to one another to entertain themselves.
I fully expect it to happen.
Sadly, yes. Until we get a real privacy law with some teeth.
Yeah, this is the United States, Jamie. Don't hold your breath.
No, it was CVB today. In between talking about Tim Wakefield's unfortunate death due to cancer, had a segment about. So there was an individual who, when company X loses your data or gets hacked, and then they're like, oh, we got hacked. Here, by the way, is we will pay for credit monitoring services for you for a year or something like that. Well,
Mhm.
this guy got it from a company in Massachusetts he had never accessed, never used. It was an insurance company, and that he had never used them, never communicated with them, but they had an open API or open web page where people could put in, oh, I'm such and such, and I want you to give me a quote. And they would go and look up the information, your vehicle identifier, what type of car you had, where you lived, and then regurgitate that back as part of, oh, and this is what we think your insurance, what your insurance would cost if you bought your insurance through here. So they have that data, and the nice thing about the CVV news segment was that they pointed out that we really don't have a data privacy law. So I think as time goes on, we will be hearing more and more out of it. It's just a matter of making sure the politicians, either hopefully as pirates, but if not pirates, your local garden variety politician, actually gets a right to privacy out there.
Well, cell phone records were, you know, things that could be easily bought and sold until somebody bought the cell phone records of who was it and like wrote a news story about it. Some general or some judge or something like that, and it's just like, oh, this could be bad. Um, on one hand, maybe with a little API usage, you could do a little accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just on the other side, I one of the things I spent my afternoon doing this today was pulling apart an axle on my bicycle and replacing bearings. It's the first time I've done a bearing replacement on a cup and cone. There was plenty of grease, but no data was exchanged.
Excellent. Well, thank you for giving us that update, Steve. If you want to find us, you can find us at masspirates.org. If you appreciate these videos, you know the drill. Also, in the description, we have links where you can sign up to our mailing list and other things like that. We're always looking for volunteers and candidates. So thank you very much. We hope you found this useful and have a wonderful week. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Bye. All right.